So, I know we kind of already talked about the state championship, but is there anything you're doing in spring ball right now to like tell the guys like, this is a different team, it's a new year, like we got to kind of get rid of last year state
Uh,
championship?
yeah, I'm not too worried about that. You know, any laziness hanging over from the state championship game, we kind of addressed that immediately when we got back in the weight room working, which was pretty much immediate. We took about 10 days off after the state championship game, and we've been at it ever since. So I think they understand that we have to be hungry. We have a title to defend, new team, new group of teams in 5A. So last year's team was last year's team. This year's team is this year's team.
What talk to me about the 5A shakeup, just kind of the region, and some teams moving out and some in. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, new teams coming in, regions changing up. So it'll be new challenges, obviously, but for us, we're kind of a one day at a time type of team. So I'm really not looking too far ahead. I just know that there's new teams in the mix, and that'll present new challenges. And every year's a new year. You got to get to the playoffs. You get to the playoffs, the bracket falls a certain way, so you have to be ready for whatever. So we just have to make every day better than the last. Try to stack good days on top of each other. If we do that, I think we'll be in great shape.
Are there certain things in the weight room that you've seen from your team that grow? What stood out to you from their work so far this offseason?
Yeah, just their consistency since December. We just stopped doing what I would call the extra lifts when spring ball started. So we did a ton of extra workouts this winter and spring leading up to spring ball, which are not mandatory, obviously completely optional. And we had almost everybody on the entire team that wasn't busy with another sport was there every single night working, grinding together. So I think the hunger is there, and that's, to go back to the first question, that really hasn't been something I felt the need to even address because the mentality of the team has been super hungry. And the good thing is a lot of these young guys that we're going to be counting on this year, I think they were really happy to win the state championship last year, but I think they have the feeling now like they want to be a difference maker when it happens. A lot of those guys were suited up with us, but there's not a ton of guys that played on that state championship stage last year that are still on this team. So a lot of these guys are young guys, new guys that were part of it, but I don't think they really felt like they were as much a part of it as some of the older guys. So I think they're hungry to win another state championship where they're on that field and they're the ones making the plays.
Talk to me about, I know you said you got a lot of young guys that are going to start week one next week. What have you seen from them that's kind of giving you like, okay, I trust these guys and go out there and make plays?
Yeah, well, it starts with them showing up to the weight room and working hard. So a lot of those guys have put on a lot of muscle, a lot of strength, a lot of speed. And then when I've seen them out here, it was funny the first day of spring ball, some of the older guys, because they're out there with a lot of young guys, a lot of sophomores, they had never really seen those guys play as much. And I know defensively, it was like halfway into the first practice, some of the older guys were coming up to me like, man, we're going to be good on defense again. I said, I told you. You know what I mean? So obviously going into spring, they're missing their seniors because we had a lot of seniors that played big roles on that defense last year and made us a great defense, and that defense was huge in our state championship run. And we lost, I want to say, 8 of the 11 starters or 9 of the 11 starters. So the guys that were left were kind of like, what's coming back? And I think they've seen that these young guys are ready to rock.
How have you seen the team communicate with each other? And like you said, you've never really had trouble with them buying in, and what has it been about them that they've kind of taken that step up and come out as leaders?
I think these kids just love football, and it's good when you get kids that love the game and love to play, and they have goals. These guys have a team goal, which is to win a state championship, and a lot of these guys have individual goals, whether that be to make it to college or become a starter or whatever it is that they're competing for. They're ready to work. So all these guys are driven, they're hungry, so it makes it easy as a coach. You're not trying to motivate guys. Guys are already motivated, and you just have to provide them with the platform where they can work. So that's what we do, is just try to give them resources to make sure that we can feed their hunger and make sure that we're in the weight room, we're on the field, we're giving them things to do to where they know that they're getting better.
Talk to me about Blake. What kind of sticks out to him that he is kind of that top caliber guy?
Blake is really a complete package because obviously he's a top caliber guy traits-wise and tools-wise. He's 6'5", 225. He has a big arm. He can make every throw. He's accurate. But as a person, he's the first guy in the weight room every morning. He watches a ton of film. He's a great leader. His teammates love him. So he's the full package on the field, off the field. So I think Blake is poised for a really big season.
You guys got two young guys on the defensive line, and Yazin and Jelani. And what are you kind of excited to see that sort of duo next year on the field?
Yeah, I'm really excited for those guys, and they're getting pretty close. Obviously, Yazin was a transfer, but they're starting to get close. I see them; they're always lifting together. They're at the same rack at the extra lifts. We assign racks in our morning lifts as part of our, true weight program. But in the extra lifts, it's a little bit more lax, and they can kind of lift with who they want to lift with and be at the racks they want to be with. And those guys are together, so I'm seeing those guys building a nice bond. And when I watch them out here in spring ball, it's going to be a lot for people to deal with because both those guys have a lot of length and a lot of athleticism. And again, two guys that play hard and love football and want to make plays and want to win a championship.
When you look at your schedule for this season, what are some of the matchups that stick out to you the most?
You know what? Honestly, I'm trying to say it in a PC way, but none really, because we're really one game at a time. So same thing with last year. Obviously we had a big time opponent week 1 of last year. We didn't get into worrying about them until we were in practice. So the same thing, and I mean practice in August practice. So right now it's about us cleaning our stuff up, being great at what we do. If we can be great at what we do, it's going to be tough for teams when they play us. So we really haven't done any talking about any of the opponents just yet. I'm sure some of the kids have seen the schedule and see certain games where they have circled, or they know guys that they played youth ball with, or whatever it is. Some games are bigger for other kids than others, but we want to be one game at a time, one day at a time. So right now, today, my focus is having a great showcase tomorrow at the West Valley Showcase. Then after that, it'll be to have a great day on Wednesday. So one day at a time.
What is it going to take for Desert Edge to win a back-to-back 5A state championship?
A lot of hard work and a lot of. Let me think about that. Let's run that back. This isn't live, right?
No.
I got to think of a good answer. What's it going to take for Desert Edge to win another state championship? Just dedication, hard work, and a bunch of guys that love football. I think we have what it takes to win a state championship. We just have to do it, and we have to execute, from the players to the coaches. I think we have the staff in place. We have the team in place to get it done. But it's a lot of good teams in 5A, so we're going to have to compete and prove it.
I know you talked about losing some of the stars from last season, some of those seniors like Lamar and Jerry and some of those other guys.
Yep.
What is the biggest thing you want the younger guys to take away from them? We actually showed a video to the defensive guys, and obviously I'm a defensive coach and I call our defense, so I can speak more to what we're doing directly defensively that translates. But we showed a video just about some of the principles of how we want to play defense. And we used a lot of clips of those seniors, clips of Joshua Hopehouse, clips of Jamar, Jerry Washington, Ayad Self. We had a lot of guys on that side of the ball that played how we want to play defense with the right mindset and the right tenacity. So that's the main thing, is playing with that type of mindset, hustling to the ball, playing with relentless effort, relentless physicality, and executing a job given to you. Those guys did a great job at that. So that's what we're trying to make sure that the young guys have and understand, because the talent is not going to be an issue. These guys are talented, they're fast, they're good football players. So as long as we play as a unit, that's what we're looking for. Then offensively, we lost some seniors that executed at a high level and made a lot of plays. Elijah Sherburne-Fox is a guy that made plays for us on both sides of the ball. Malachi Moala, some old linemen we had, Josh Campbell. We had a really good Ariane Thomas, really good senior group on offense too, that really stepped up when it counted, and they made some big plays that helped us on that state championship run. So guys on both sides of the ball had a lot of guys that they could look at from last year of what it means to play here at Desert Edge and how to represent this place the right way. And so long as those guys follow suit, I feel pretty good about it. All right, last thing I'll ask you, how big of a contributor do you expect Zarek to be this year?
Oh man, Zarek is going to have a huge season. He had a huge playoff run. I don't know what anyone else in the state did, but I would say he had as good of a playoff run as I could imagine anybody on that side of the ball in that position having. I don't know the exact stats, but I know he had a ton of touchdowns, a ton of yards, a ton of big catches down the stretch. So him and Blake have been working together really well. Zarek's been looking great out here at practice. Obviously, he's super gifted and talented kid, so I'm really excited to see what he does. But I expect Zarek to have a huge year for us, and I think he expects that from himself because he holds himself to a high standard, and I know he wants to prove a point of who he is and what type of player he is for the span of an entire season. So I think he'll get the opportunity to do that this year, and I'm excited to see what he does.